Evidence secured at marker 4. Advise command we are holding the scene.
Copy that. It's getting heavier out here.
Between 1:47 and 2:28 a.m. on February 1st, 2026, the digital monitoring grid of an entire Tucson residential block went totally blind. Cameras died instantly, and wireless networks crashed across multiple homes simultaneously. Somebody physically severed the connection to Nancy Guthrie's front doorbell camera. A neighbor's Ring camera, the specific lens pointing directly toward NY's property, captured absolutely zero historical footage that night. When the homeowner checked his footage, he discovered an error message he claimed he had never seen. It read, "Unavailable, not corrupted, not overwritten, just completely unavailable during the most critical 41-minute investigation window." Throughout that specific window, nearly every trace of digital evidence was neutralized, interrupted, or simply vanished. But this singular detail reframes everything. During that same 41-minute blackout, when blinded cameras could not see, when unknown forces disrupted wireless signals across multiple properties, the only live data radiating from Nancy Guthrie's body was a pacemaker's Bluetooth connection, slowly approaching complete disconnection. Yet one witness remained that no jammer could silence, no signal could disrupt, and no tactical checklist could anticipate. A neighbor's sleeping dog woke up for the first time its owners could ever recall. It fiercely demanded to go outside at midnight during a 41-minute window when every nearby electronic system went completely dark. The owners called this behavior absolutely uncanny. Tonight, we dissect that digital blackout and selective camera failures, exposing investigative gaps, a former FBI agent publicly called a redo, plus that one completely unpredictable neighborhood witness. Before we construct every complex layer of this investigation, we must analyze the neighbor, whose Ring camera died when it mattered, and the FBI returning 33 days later, asking entirely new questions. We evaluate the canine behavioral evidence a former federal agent insisted should have been documented from the start, and what that reveals about who planned this operation and exactly how. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell right now, because here at the Investigation Room, we follow forensic trails. We scrutinize what the hard evidence confirms and what investigators ultimately failed to capture. We demand answers to glaring questions the official timeline ignores, bringing you new, in-depth documentaries every single week. If you are already deeply invested in this case, smash that like button and sound off in the comments. Do you believe this neighborhood's massive digital blackout was deliberate, or was it just a terrifying coincidence? Drop your analysis below because I read every single one. Now, let us build this case from scratch. Nancy Guthrie née Long was exactly 84 years old the night someone took her from her Catalina Foothills home in Tucson, Arizona. She had been a widow since 1988, when her beloved husband Charles died. Raising 3 children, she lived completely alone inside the exact same house she called home for over 50 years. Nestled between East Skyline Drive and North Campbell Avenue against the base of the Santa Catalina Mountains, everyone agreed she remained cognitively sharp and fully present. Puma County Sheriff Chris Nanos publicly described her as sharp as a tack. She suffered zero cognitive impairment, never wandered aimlessly, and absolutely never left her house without a destination. Physically, Nancy faced severe limitations. At 84, she could not walk 50 yards unassisted, and Sheriff Nanos confirmed her dependence on daily medication. She managed high blood pressure and a pacemaker. She required hearing aids, and once removed for sleep, she became completely deaf to the outside world. Her daughter, Savannah Guthrie, co-anchors NBC's Today Show, remaining one of American morning television's most recognizable faces. Her other daughter, Annie Guthrie, resides locally in Tucson, while her son-in-law, Toamaso Chiabra, remained a constant presence in her weekly routine. Nancy kept a small black terrier that neighbors knew incredibly well, constantly spotting it trotting right alongside her in the front yard. This specific dog loudly reacted to absolutely everything around it: headlights sweeping across the asphalt, car doors slamming 2 houses away, or any slight movement breaking the stillness of a dark Tucson night. That dog died shortly before February 1st, 2026. That specific absence quickly became one of the most vital forensic details in this entire case. To grasp exactly why the events of February 1st hold such operational significance, you must first picture a totally normal night in her neighborhood. The Catalina Foothills is a quiet, impeccably maintained residential enclave where historical crime remained mostly non-existent. Neighbor Jeff Lamy lived 4 doors down from Nancy, later speaking on the Surviving the Survivor podcast on March 2nd, describing the typical local criminal activity as being strictly limited to minor offenses like mail theft, 41 missing minutes. That is all it took. Neighbors relied heavily on standard ring and nest systems. Residents installed these wireless security networks strictly for peace of mind, assuming they would never actually need to review footage. Under normal circumstances, these cameras hummed along quietly in the background. They recorded standard motion events and uploaded ignored security clips straight to the cloud. February 1st, 2026, shattered that illusion completely. The digital footprint left between 1:47 a.m. and 2:28 a.m. reveals absolutely nothing but pure, total absence. We find deliberate gaps and sudden interruptions where hard video evidence should exist. NY's front entrance doorbell camera dropped offline from 1 to 1:47 a.m. Furthermore, the neighbor's Ring camera aimed directly toward NY's property showed absolutely zero historical footage for that entire period. Several surrounding homeowners also reported bizarre internet service disruptions during those exact hours. Then hit 2:28 a.m. Nancy Guthrie's final piece of continuous biological data, the Bluetooth link connecting her internal pacemaker to her phone, suddenly severed. Within 41 minutes, the whole digital monitoring grid on that street suffered simultaneous anomalies. What logged the only positive signal? The sole witness detecting immediate presence, close physical proximity, and violent disturbance was just a simple animal. A neighbor's dog woke up frantically for the very first time in recent memory. It demanded to go outside exactly when someone dragged Nancy Guthrie out into the dark. She vanished without a digital trace, so let us sequence the confirmed technical facts. At 1:47 a.m. on February 1st, someone manually severed Nancy Guthrie's Nest doorbell. Pima County Sheriff's Department and CBS News verified this exact timestamp. No glitches occurred. No random power surges happened. An intruder physically tampered with the front door device, killing the video feed exactly at 1:47 a.m. Over the next 25 minutes, absolutely zero visual evidence captured activity at the front yard or the immediate surrounding exterior approach. At 2:12 a.m., interior camera software detected motion inside the house. It captured no images. It only generated a software log, proving something breached the lens's field of view. At 2:28 a.m., Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker permanently dropped its Bluetooth phone app connection. Investigators located her phone securely inside the home. By morning, the pacemaker died entirely. 41 terrifying minutes had elapsed. What happened next? Now factor in the neighbor's data to answer that. A resident boasting a direct sightline toward Nancy Guthrie's property investigated his Ring camera history after news broke. He discovered an error message he had never encountered while owning the security device. It said not available. No corrupted file, 0 blank recordings. The digital history for that specific camera on that specific night simply vanished entirely. He immediately alerted local investigators. He told News Nation's Brian Anton, who originally published this key detail on March 6th, that this anomaly was entirely unprecedented. This neighbor operated 4 Ring cameras total. 3 independent units functioned perfectly fine all night long. They captured continuous footage. Only one single unit showed 0 available history. The disabled camera pointed directly toward Nancy Guthrie's house. This holds massive forensic significance because system-wide network failures affect all 4 cameras. Random technical glitches always distribute themselves without any logical pattern. But one isolated failure hitting the camera with the clearest direct view of the crime scene. That is no system error. It is a targeted gap, a calculated blind spot, positioned precisely where the neighborhood predator needed it most. Who could execute this flawlessly? Across the wider block, nearby homeowners reported highly similar internet outages. Multiple residents told NBC News that FBI agents visiting on March 5th explicitly asked if they experienced sudden interruptions or problems with their home internet service on the night of February 1st. Agents told residents that multiple locals had already reported these identical disruptions. These localized blackouts proved real and widespread enough to trigger formal door-to-door investigations 33 days after they originally occurred. We must examine that massive 33-day investigative delay incredibly carefully. On Thursday, March 5, 2026, 33 days after Nancy Guthrie vanished completely, FBI agents and Puma County Sheriff's Department officers hit the Catalina Foothills neighborhood, going door-to-door to ask residents one hyper-specific question. They completely bypassed asking if anyone saw unusual activity or noticed suspicious individuals who seemed out of place. They asked exclusively about internet connectivity. Specifically, did your home internet service randomly drop on the night of February 1st? 3 homeowners confirmed this exact questioning to NBC News. Additional neighbors verified it to News Nation. Now, lock in that timeline. Someone deliberately blinded the digital footprint. Then, Nancy vanished on February 1st. Within 7 days, detectives knew the doorbell camera died, and records were compromised. Journalist Brian Enton reported on March 6th that a neighbor's camera showed no available footage for that night, yet police waited until March 5th to formally canvass the neighborhood about internet outages. Over 30 days passed before investigating the event's digital footprint. Former FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffender, whose commentary delivers the most precise, technically grounded public analysis on this case, cut straight to the bone about this timeline. She labeled that March 5th canvass a complete redo, never a follow-up. Those terms hold entirely different meanings. Detectives execute a follow-up when fresh intelligence emerges and they must gather additional data. A redo means investigators return for data they should have collected the very first time around. Coffender called this delay utterly disappointing. An unusually direct blast from a former federal agent regarding an active, ongoing kidnapping investigation. She stressed that when neighbors provide information demanding further scrutiny, investigators must act immediately, not weeks later. The forensic window for capturing behavioral and environmental data slams shut fast. Human memories fade, systems overwrite logs, physical evidence degrades. What did that 33-day gap actually cost? Nobody provides a public answer to that. But Coffender pushed her criticism further. She outlined a proper neighborhood canvas, delivering a list that stood out for strict methodological precision. She explicitly cited strange animal reactions as a prime sensory anomaly that detectives must document. Dogs barking weirdly at 2 a.m. or 2:30 a.m. A motion light snapping on. A triggered camera. She chose those examples deliberately. They map the exact stimulus-response evidence that trained detectives are supposed to secure across any active crime scene perimeter. She chose a dog as her absolute primary example. Because unlike electronics, a dog reacting gives you hard facts about physical proximity, duration, and the precise nature of a stimulus that no sensor replicates. That detail anchors directly to the Catalina Foothills on February 1st. The night Nancy Guthrie vanished, a dog next door snapped completely awake. Its owners slept inside with 4 Ring cameras running. 3 of them recorded the night perfectly. The 4th camera aimed directly at the property of Nancy Guthrie, yet showed 0 available history between roughly 1:47 and 2:28 a.m. Inside that exact window, the dog woke them and forced its way outside. The owners had never seen this, later calling the behavior downright uncanny. They told NBC News, "That is really weird, right?" That reaction held genuine dread from locals who instinctively knew their story broke every normal pattern. What did that dog actually hear? This dog never just shifted and settled. It woke them up. It marched them to the door. It displayed a sustained, goal-directed response they had never witnessed. Pay attention, because this distinction changes the forensic reality completely. Reflexive animal movements, like a quick jump at a passing car outside, or twitching at sudden noise, terminate fast neurologically. But a dog that wakes up, persists, and drags its owner into action locks onto a sustained stimulus. It tracks something actively present, detectable, and deeply wrong enough to keep the animal wired until it triggered a purposeful reaction. Retired Lieutenant Bob Guthrie of the Pima County Sheriff's Department, the exact agency running this alongside the FBI, tackled this behavioral analysis head-on during the Surviving the Survivor podcast on March 3rd, weeks before that March 5th canvass. Guthrie spoke with explicit precision. A dog going off at 1 a.m. in a quiet neighborhood forces attention. Lights flick on. Neighbors look out. Someone steps outside. Any intruder hearing that bark immediately recalculates risk. Does he abort? Does he make extra noise managing the situation? Either way, he loses all predictability and control over his operation. Guthrie stated directly, "Having a yapping dog or a strong barking dog guarantees you draw attention. It makes the bad guy highly uncomfortable, and uncomfortable people usually get in their cars and drive away." This goes far beyond sentiment. This is pure tactical behavioral analysis from a veteran of the very agency hunting for Nancy Guthrie right now. That dog beside Nancy's house lacked police canine training. Nobody trained it to detect a single thing. It was just a family pet sleeping inside the disruption zone. Yet it woke up exactly when someone neutralized every single electronic surveillance system in the area and plunged them into darkness. A massive 41-minute digital void erased the timeline entirely, leaving investigators facing total nothingness. Doorbell video, ring footage, wireless networks, and even a pacemaker feed every single concrete metric flatlined. Yet, hidden inside this terrifying silence, one breathing witness actually left an active footprint during the chaos: a dog. Nobody has examined this crucial footprint with the intense scrutiny it demands. National media outlets entirely ignored a critical layer buried deep within this specific animal's timeline. We need answers. We must focus on Nancy Guthrie's pet, not the neighbors. She kept a small, black terrier. Everyone nearby recognized the animal. Jeff Lamy lived 4 houses away and explicitly detailed the pet while speaking alongside Bob Guthrie on the Surviving the Survivor podcast. Locals routinely spotted the little black terrier spending time outside across her front lawn. Sometime before February 1st, 2026, the animal perished. Jeff Lamy publicly verified a chilling detail. Her pet actually died. What does this revelation mean for the killer's cold, calculated logistics? An 84-year-old woman's tiny terrier, roaming a silent desert community, hardly provides formal physical security. Yet, it functions flawlessly as a highly sensitive organic early warning system. Terriers scream at passing headlights. They react to microscopic noises humans miss at 1 o'clock in the morning. They explode when strangers approach doors. Any environmental shift instantly triggers their deep biological impulse to sound an aggressive alarm. Had Nancy's pet survived until February 1st, 2026, the horrifying sequence launching at 1:47 in the morning would have smashed into a roadblock. Loud, frantic barking at 1 o'clock in the morning slices cleanly through the dead-quiet Catalina Foothills night. Living 4 houses away, Jeff Lamy might have noticed. Other nearby residents might have too. Porch lights illuminate. A curious local gazes out the window. That dead animal guaranteed absolute quiet, replacing any internal house alarm. Nancy left her hearing aids resting untouched on her nightstand. She never heard footsteps approaching. Her pacemaker offered zero warning. Her smartphone remained useless. The single, unpredictable, analog defense mechanism, capable of beating advanced electronic signal jamming tactics, or surviving total wireless disruption and technical countermeasures, simply vanished. Interviewers bluntly asked Bob Guthrie if one little terrier could alter this tragedy. He answered definitively, stating he never considered that a ridiculous notion. This triggers a chilling investigative mystery remaining entirely unsolved today. Did the stalker know her pet vanished? Extensive reconnaissance spanning January 11th, January 24th, and January 31st mapped an exact, terrifying operational pattern. A predator monitored the property intensely enough to chart Nancy's weekly habits, perfectly timing her exact departures and returning trips. They memorized her schedule so deeply that it demanded multiple independent visual confirmations. Did this obsessive surveillance register a missing animal that normally patrolled the front lawn on a regular basis? Standard property files never register animals. Overhead satellite images cannot track a tiny terrier running around. However, an intruder executing physical surveillance across several consecutive scouting trips? Any suspect lurking close enough to watch the lawn over consecutive Saturday nights would absolutely notice a normally visible dog disappearing from the environment over time. Suppose the animal survived the initial scouting runs but vanished right before the final strike week. The killer could log its disappearance and weave that into the tactical plan. Detectives cannot easily prove or disprove this theory using mere paperwork. Yet, this highly relevant investigative detail screams for real answers, exposing another shocking clue. We must analyze the suspect's front pocket. Doorbell footage captures an item we analyzed thoroughly during previous episodes covering this exact investigation. An exposed antenna protrudes above the fabric, sparking massive debates pitting wireless jammers against standard handheld radio theories. We need to stop asking ourselves merely about the physical nature of the device itself. We must decode how specific lens failures expose their exact disruption tactics. 1 ring unit died, 3 survived. The dead camera possessed an unobstructed view facing Nancy Guthrie's house, placing a commercial wireless jammer stationary outside Nancy's front entrance. Restricts the effective radius significantly. Cybersecurity expert Morgan Wright states, standard consumer models only reach between 10 and 30 meters out. Operating within those limits, any jammer dumped near Nancy's doorway naturally attacks the closest electronic hardware first. A neighbor's lens aiming straight at the target zone from inside the blast radius drops offline almost immediately. Hardware pushed further back or angled differently suffers spotty connection issues, but ultimately stays functional. Reports confirm this exact technological pattern. 3 lenses fully survived. The single unit boasting clear visual access crashed completely. Still, this evidence lacks absolute finality. 1 camera goes completely black. Missing data never confirms signal jamming outright, but this highly specific failure rejects any random connectivity glitch. Random internet drops never target just 1 lens on a 4-camera system while leaving the others running perfectly. That highly targeted blind spot demands a strictly operational explanation. Proximity and directionality. The suspect utilized a device with a strict range, instantly killing the camera inside it. Cameras outside that strict boundary stayed fully online. The Puma County Sheriff's Department verified they investigated a damaged utility box found right around the corner from NY's home. Someone physically sabotaging neighborhood infrastructure could have severed outside connectivity, rather than a suspect carrying a portable jamming device on foot. That physical sabotage completely explains the broader internet blackout hitting multiple homes. Sabotaging outside infrastructure avoids the strict range limits of a handheld wireless jammer. The attacker could kill the web across an entire geographic area instantly. 2 separate tactics likely played out. They disrupted outside infrastructure to broadly blind homes, then deployed a close-range device, killing the camera holding the most direct view. But investigators refused to publicly confirm or exclude either operational scenario. What did Sheriff Nanos admit? NBC News directly asked him if the suspect carried a Wi-Fi jammer. He gave an answer sounding technically cautious, but remaining operationally crucial. He stated he had not personally examined that angle closely, but confirmed his team and the FBI investigated every single possibility. That statement confirms investigators absolutely placed the jammer theory on their radar. It just hides exactly what those federal investigators uncovered. Jennifer Coffindaffer characterizing the March 5th canvas as a redo instead of a follow-up raises specific investigative questions we must clearly ask. First, take the neighbor who owned the unavailable Ring camera. Did police comprehensively interview them? The failure happened immediately after February 1st. That camera glitch represented a forensically significant anomaly right beside the incident. Detectives should have collected that digital anomaly during week 1, not 33 days later. We cannot confirm whether that early interview actually happened, or what footage it captured. Authorities refuse to confirm what they actually did with that crucial information. Second, consider the neighbor whose dog exhibited unusual behavior during the blackout. Did detectives interview them with the strict forensic rigor Jennifer Coffender described? Did investigators document exactly which direction that dog faced outside? Did they record whether the animal vocalized, and at what intensity? Did they capture whether the pet circled, tracked, or reacted toward a specific direction? Each behavioral detail provides forensic data. Combine that with the known disruption zone mapped strictly from internet outage reports. A dog's directional response during the blackout window indicates the exact path of approach and departure. Third, detectives needed the full disruption zone mapped using animal behavior, not strictly internet connectivity. The FBI and Sheriff's Department asked neighbors about internet disruptions on March 5th. Koff and Daffer's methodology explicitly requires collecting parallel data on anomalous animal behavior. If investigators asked about Wi-Fi failures, but never simultaneously asked whether household pets behaved unusually during those exact same hours, they literally collected only half the available behavioral record from that block. Fourth, consider those critical weeks between February 1st and March 5th. How many other camera anomalies like the unavailable message on the neighbor's Ring device went unreported because nobody asked? Residents checking their footage and finding nothing incriminating might never think to report a simple absent recording. Missing footage on a specific night, from a specific camera and direction, lacks obvious relevance to a non-investigator. They simply wouldn't flag it. That explains why rapid comprehensive canvassing within the first 48 to 72 hours remains standard protocol for high-priority abductions. This specific delay created an evidence collection gap nobody can fully recover. Some neighbors might no longer possess access to that critical footage. Others likely forgot behavioral details, feeling completely vivid 33 hours after the event, but turning fuzzy 33 days later. Coffender spoke clearly and directly about that gap's consequences. Hearing a former federal agent express such disappointment, describing an active kidnapping investigation, speaks volumes. That remains a highly significant, unresolved statement. Assemble every confirmed detail from that 41-minute window, cross-reference it with the preceding planning, and a highly specific operational profile instantly emerges. Surveillance across 3 Saturdays, January 11th, January 24th, and January 31st, proved entirely systematic and confirmatory, never exploratory. Someone actively verified known information across multiple weeks, never discovering new intelligence for the first time. Every camera went dark, yet the intruder missed one living alarm. Executing a 41-minute breach on a secured home takes immense planning. Mapping an escape route south toward the border proves this suspect started their research well before January 11th. The intruder specifically targeted NY's front door camera. The suspect knew it was watching. He attempted neutralizing the device through improvised methods before proceeding. Meanwhile, the Ring camera next door, which held a direct sightline toward the operation, sat perfectly inside the disruption zone of whatever infrastructure interference blocked signals during that window. Criminals operating randomly do not behave like this. This behavioral profile reveals an operation that specifically accounted for the primary surveillance device and its closest backup. But every operation has gaps, and the flaw in this plan was not electronic. So what went wrong? The most sophisticated aspect of the digital disruption, the selective camera failures and widespread Wi-Fi interruptions across multiple homes, that 41-minute window of near-total electronic blindness achieved exactly what it was designed to achieve. It erased the digital record. What the intruder failed to account for was a sleeping family pet 3 houses away that never reacted. This way in its life, it woke mid-blackout, leaving its owners with an uncanny certainty that something had passed nearby. No intelligence briefing accounts for a neighbor's dog. No property record logs an animal's sensory range. No neighborhood surveillance over 3 Saturday evenings captures whether the house 3 doors down contains a dog that wakes at unusual stimuli. That became the blind spot, and that blind spot left exactly one living witness. Who survived? By 2:28 a.m. on February 1st, 2026, every data stream from the Catalina Foothills neighborhood registered an anomaly and went quiet. Nancy Guthrie's doorbell camera stayed offline since 1:47 a.m. The neighbor's Ring camera showed no available history. Internet service disrupted across multiple homes. Motion detection inside NY's home logged at 2:12 a.m. with no visual record. NY's pacemaker disconnected from her phone at exactly 2:28 a.m. At 2:36 a.m., a Ring camera belonging to neighbors Elias and Danielle Stratagulias captured a vehicle traveling southbound on Camino Real, 2.5 miles from NY's home. That vehicle has never been publicly identified. Who drove it? Within that 41-minute window, every digital system registered complete absence. Every hard data point is defined by what it failed to capture, except the dog. The neighbor's dog woke up. It demanded to go out. Its owners, people who had never seen this behavior, found the reaction uncanny enough to describe it to investigators and reporters. They connected it themselves to the timing of the camera failure and the disappearance down the street. Bob Carey articulated what experienced law enforcement already knows. A dog does not react randomly at 1 a.m. in a quiet neighborhood when nothing is happening. A dog that wakes and directs its owners toward the door during a window of unusual activity is responding to a sustained stimulus. Its behavioral response is data. The digital systems were neutralized. The human witnesses were asleep. NY's hearing aids were on the nightstand. The terrier that would have barked in her yard was gone. But the neighbor's dog was not gone, and it woke up during the exact 41 minutes when everything else went dark. That behavioral record has not been publicly analyzed with the depth that Coffinder's methodology prescribes. As of March 21, 2026, the investigation remains active as a rescue operation. The combined information reward stands at over $1.2 million. $1 million from the Guthrie family, $100,000 from the FBI. The DNA recovered from inside the home remains under testing at a private laboratory in Florida. The challenges with that biological material related to the presence of multiple contributors have not been publicly resolved. No identification match exists. Genetic genealogy expert C.C. Moore stated publicly that if she were the suspect, she would be terrified that investigators are applying genealogical DNA analysis to this case. The Golden State Killer was identified through exactly that technique. Even DNA with no direct match in CODIS can be used to build a family tree through partial matches with relatives who have voluntarily submitted their genetic data to public databases like GEDmatch or 23andMe. The full-sleeve tattoo alert an individual in the Tucson area reportedly sought tattoo removal shortly after NY's disappearance, remains an active investigative thread. Biometric eye analysis of the suspect continues in parallel with the physical profile. Height, 5'9" to 5'10". Average build, black mustache, distinctive gait, and a pinky ring visible in the doorbell stills. The pacemaker signal sniffer. The drone. Right now, ground-based technology actively scans for a unique Bluetooth MAC address, broadcasting into the void. The device has between 6 and 7 years of battery remaining, because if Nancy Guthrie remains alive, her heart's pacemaker is still actively transmitting. Detectives aggressively probe that February 1st digital blackout, the sudden internet disruptions, the selective Ring camera failure, the deliberately damaged utility box, and the ongoing disruption zone mapping. Officials refuse to publicly confirm if they finished the full soft witness canvas Kidnapper detailed. And the behavioral data from the neighbor's dog? Police never publicly presented that uncanny reaction during the exact blackout window as part of the official investigative record. These questions remain wide open. They demand answers. Nancy Guthrie was 84 years old when someone snatched her from her home in the Catalina foothills of Tucson, Arizona. She removed her hearing aids at night and slept in total silence. She inhabited that house for 50 years. Her final evening looked exactly like every single Saturday she spent with her family for years. On the night she vanished, someone strategically interrupted the digital grid around her block. Lenses went black. Connections severed. The one camera possessing the clearest view of her property captured absolutely nothing. Whoever neutralized the system executed it with a surgical precision that investigators still map today. But one element survived: a neighbor's dog. It woke up during those 41 minutes, demanded outside, and left its owners with a certainty they described as uncanny. That specific word carries serious weight. People say uncanny when their raw instincts register something facts cannot yet confirm. A former FBI agent says police should have rigorously documented that testimony during the first canvass. They failed. The canvass actually asking those vital questions happened 33 days later. Jennifer Kidnapper called it a redo. That language also carries weight. Nancy Guthrie's own terrier, the small black dog her neighbor Jeff Lamy knew from years of watching it trot through her front yard, had passed away just before February 1st. That specific dog would have barked. Bob Keary stated this directly. A barking dog at 1 a.m. changes risk calculations. It draws attention. It makes a bad guy highly uncomfortable. It might have changed everything. But her yard remained dead silent, and the perpetrator likely knew about that silence in advance. As of March 21, 2026, 49 days since anyone reported Nancy Guthrie missing, she remains unfound. Police made 0 arrests. They publicly named 0 suspects. But the digital disruption remained totally real. The camera failure was targeted. That dog woke up. And the investigation holds critical questions it never fully answered. If you occupied the Catalina Foothills neighborhood on February 1st, 2026, if your internet dropped, if a camera showed missing footage, or if an animal in your home behaved in a totally unprecedented way, investigators urgently need your voice. Dial 1-800-CALL-FBI. Your tips stay totally anonymous. The reward is real. Every detail, however small, might finally break this case wide open. Nancy Guthrie deserves to come home. Her family deserves concrete answers. And the dog that woke up that night deserves to have its crucial testimony taken seriously. What part of this active investigation feels most significant? The selective ring camera failure, the delayed canvass, or the fact that Nancy's own dog was missing to raise the alarm? Drop your analysis below. Please discuss this respectfully. This involves a real woman and a real family. If you believe cases like this demand serious, forensically grounded coverage that refuses to look away, subscribe to The Investigation Room. Hit the notification bell. We drop a new documentary every week. We follow the hard evidence wherever it leads. We present this active investigation with deep respect for Nancy Guthrie and her family. Our sole goal involves examining pure evidence and searching for truth, never sensationalizing human tragedy. We firmly believe these cases demand thorough, highly respectful coverage. Thank you for approaching this active case with the exact gravity it deserves.